The night sky erupted with brilliant blue light. Dr. Eliza Weiss stared through her telescope, her hands trembling as she adjusted the focus. Something was happening to the moon. Something impossible. "This can't be right," she whispered, stepping back from her equipment. The seismograph beside her desk continued its frantic dance, recording lunar tremors that shouldn't exist. For 3 days, the strange readings had been coming in from the lunar monitoring station. At first, everyone at NASA dismissed it as equipment failure. The moon didn't have earthquakes, at least, not like this. But now, as Eliza watched the pale surface begin to split with glowing blue fractures, she knew they had all been wrong. She reached for her phone with shaking fingers and dialed her supervisor. "Director Chen, you need to see this. The moon, it's breaking apart." 12 hours later, the world knew. News channels broadcast continuous footage of the moon, now visibly crisscrossed with luminous blue lines. In Times Square, thousands gathered to watch the giant screens showing live feeds from observatories around the world. Similar scenes played out in cities across the globe: Beijing, Moscow, London, Cairo. Humanity collectively held its breath. "We're tracking multiple fracture points expanding across approximately 78% of the lunar surface," announced Dr. James Reynolds, chief astronomer at the International Space Observatory, during an emergency UN broadcast. "We cannot yet determine if this is a natural phenomenon, though I must emphasize that nothing in our understanding of lunar geology can explain what we're witnessing." Religious leaders proclaimed the end times. Scientists offered competing theories. Military forces worldwide went on high alert. If the moon shattered, the debris alone could devastate Earth. In her observatory in New Mexico, Eliza hadn't slept in 36 hours. Her eyes burned as she cataloged each new fracture, each bizarre energy reading. The data made no sense. The moon wasn't just cracking, it was transforming. Dr. Weiss, her assistant Marco, called from across the room. "The Pentagon is on line 3. They want your assessment of potential impact scenarios." Eliza picked up the phone, but before she could speak, Marco shouted, "Look at the monitor." On the screen, something new was happening. The fractures had stopped spreading. Instead, the shattered sections of the lunar surface were beginning to separate, rising upward in perfectly geometric patterns. "It's not random," Eliza breathed into the phone. "These aren't natural breaks. They're designed." The Pentagon official on the other end went silent. Across the world, military commanders ordered missiles to stand ready. Evacuation orders emptied coastal cities as experts warned of potential tsunami threats if large lunar sections impacted the oceans. Fighter jets patrolled skies, though no one could say what they were defending against. In orbit, astronauts aboard the International Space Station had the clearest view. Commander Sarah Chen transmitted video that immediately went viral worldwide. The moon's surface was separating into perfect hexagonal sections, each slowly lifting away from what lay beneath. President Adams addressed the nation from the Oval Office. "My fellow Americans, we face an unprecedented moment in human history. We do not yet understand what is happening to our moon, but I assure you that every resource of this government is being deployed. We ask for calm as our scientists work to." The broadcast cut off as millions of viewers switched to breaking news. The moon's transformation had accelerated dramatically. In mission control at Houston, technicians stared open-mouthed at their monitors. The lunar surface wasn't collapsing inward as expected. Instead, the hexagonal plates were rotating outward, like the opening petals of a mechanical flower. "This is impossible," whispered Flight Director Carlos Mendez. "The moon's mass. It should be collapsing in on itself." But the impossible continued unfolding before their eyes. As the plates rotated outward, bright light began spilling through the widening gaps, illuminating Earth with beams brighter than any full moon. In her observatory, Eliza's instruments overloaded from the energy readings. "It's not just light," she told the military officials now crowding her small facility. "There's technology at work here, technology far beyond anything we've developed." 72 hours after the first cracks appeared, the process reached its climax. Nearly half the lunar surface had separated into floating sections, revealing what lay beneath, not the natural satellite humanity had studied for centuries, but something entirely artificial. Through powerful telescopes, observers could see the truth. Beneath its rocky exterior, the moon contained vast metallic structures. Geometric patterns covered surfaces that gleamed with perfect symmetry, and nestled within these structures were countless objects. Ships, billions of them, arranged in perfect formation. The revelation sent waves of shock through human civilization. Riots broke out in some areas. Religious congregations swelled. Many simply stood outdoors, staring upward in stunned silence. At the UN Security Council, emergency sessions ran nonstop. "We've detected no signals, no communications of any kind," reported the Secretary General. "Whatever is happening, whoever built this, they have not yet attempted contact." That changed at dawn on the fourth day. Eliza was finally sleeping, passed out on a cot in her office, when Marco shook her awake. "Something's coming out," he said. On her monitors, she saw it. A single object had detached from the partially opened moon, moving toward Earth with deliberate precision. Unlike the billions of ships still nested in their lunar harbor, this one was headed directly for them. President Adams ordered intercept fighter jets, but military commanders argued against what could be perceived as an aggressive act. In the end, they simply tracked the object's descent. It was small compared to the moon, perhaps the size of a naval destroyer, its surface smooth and reflective like polished obsidian. It maintained a controlled trajectory, slowing as it entered the atmosphere without any signs of heating or stress that should accompany such entry. The craft eventually came to hover above the United Nations headquarters in New York. Thousands gathered in the streets below. Smartphones pointed skyward despite evacuation orders. The world watched through live broadcasts as the object remained perfectly still, floating silently 300 meters above the international territory. After 23 minutes of silence, every electronic device on Earth, phones, radios, computers, televisions, simultaneously activated with the same message. It appeared in text form, translated into each viewer's native language, while also being spoken in a calm, androgynous voice. "People of Earth, we are the guardians. What you call your moon has been our vessel and observation post for the past 12,000 years. We have watched you grow. We have waited for the right moment. That moment has arrived. An enemy approaches, an enemy that would destroy you without thought. We have come to stand with you. We are your shield. We are your sword. We are your future." Across the gleaming lunar surface, now exposed to view, billions of ships began to illuminate, their lights creating a dazzling constellation visible even in daylight. The moon had not just cracked open, it had awakened, and humanity would never be the same. The diplomatic vessel from the moon remained suspended above the United Nations building for 3 days before making its next move. Military forces surrounded the area, but kept their distance as ordered by a hastily assembled global coalition of leaders. The world waited, tensions rising with each passing hour. On the morning of the fourth day, the vessel descended slowly onto the UN Plaza. News helicopters circled at a respectful distance, while millions watched live feeds on their devices. The smooth obsidian craft settled gently on the concrete, showing no visible doors or windows. Inside the building, Secretary General Amara Okafor addressed the emergency assembly. "We face an unprecedented moment in human history. Whatever comes next will change everything we know about our place in the universe." As if responding to her words, a section of the vessel's hull dissolved into light, forming a doorway. 3 figures emerged. They looked human, but not quite. Taller than average, with silvery skin that seemed to shimmer in the sunlight. Their features were symmetrical, almost unnaturally perfect. They wore simple gray uniforms without insignia or decoration. Dr. Eliza Weiss, now acting as scientific advisor to the UN response team, watched from behind bulletproof glass as the trio approached the building's entrance without hesitation. Security teams tensed but held their positions. "They move like they know exactly where they're going," whispered Marco, who hadn't left Eliza's side since the moon first cracked. The visitors entered the building and were escorted directly to the General Assembly Hall. No weapons were visible on them, but their confidence suggested they didn't need any. In the hall, representatives from every nation watched in stunned silence as the three visitors took positions at the central podium. The tallest stepped forward. When he spoke, his voice was deep and clear, without any trace of accent. "I am Theron, commander of the Guardian Fleet. With me are Lyra, our chief scientist, and Marius, our historian. We come before you as representatives of humanity's future." Murmurs rippled through the assembly. "What you are about to hear will be difficult to accept," Theron continued. "The reality you understand is incomplete. The moon, as you call it, has never been merely a natural satellite. It has been our home, our fortress, our observatory for 12 millennia. On screens around the hall, images appeared showing the interior of the moon. Vast chambers housing billions of ships, massive engines, and technology beyond human understanding. We are humans, just as you are, but we come from your future, a future that no longer exists because we have changed the timeline by our presence here." Theron's expression remained calm, but his eyes revealed an ancient weariness. "We are the survivors of Earth, from a time approximately 2,000 years from now." The assembly erupted in shocked exclamations. Secretary General Okafor called for order, her voice barely audible above the commotion. When the room quieted, Lyra stepped forward. Unlike Theron's imposing presence, she had a gentler demeanor. "In our original timeline, Earth faced an extinction-level threat from a species we came to know as the Harvesters. They arrived without warning, claiming our solar system as their territory. Within 1 year, 90% of humanity was gone." Screens showed images of devastated cities, strange biomechanical ships descending from the skies, and humans fighting hopeless battles against overwhelming forces. Those who survived developed technology to fight back, but it wasn't enough. After centuries of conflict, Earth was lost. The last free humans, 50 million of us, made a desperate choice. Lyra's voice faltered slightly. "We built technology to travel back through time, to create a defensive force that could prevent the invasion before it happened." Marius, the historian, stepped forward. He appeared older than the others, his silvery skin lined with what looked like ancient scars. "We arrived 12,000 years ago, with ships containing the last surviving humans from our time. We found a young Earth, with human civilization still in its infancy. Rather than reveal ourselves and risk altering your natural development, we hollowed out your moon and hid inside it." "You've been watching us all this time?" asked the American representative. "Yes," Marius answered. "We've observed your development, ensuring our presence didn't interfere with your natural evolution. We intervened only when absolutely necessary to prevent extinction events." "Why reveal yourselves now?" demanded the Russian delegate. Theron's expression darkened. "Because they're coming. Our long-range sensors detected Harvester scout ships entering the outer solar system 3 days ago. That's why we initiated the opening protocol, revealing our presence and mobilizing our fleet." Stunned silence fell over the assembly. "The tragedy of our timeline need not be yours," Theron continued. "We have spent thousands of years preparing for this moment. Our armada of 1 billion ships represents the most powerful defensive force ever assembled. But we cannot win this war alone." At a signal from Theron, Lyra produced a small cube that projected a holographic display of Earth surrounded by defensive positions. "We need your cooperation. We need your world's resources and manpower. Most of all, we need your trust." Theron's eyes swept across the assembly. "Without unity between your present and our future, humanity faces extinction." The Chinese representative stood. "How do we know you speak the truth? That you are truly human and not alien invaders yourselves?" Lyra stepped forward, holding a small device. A fair question. We anticipated your doubt. This contains our genetic code. Compare it to your own. You'll find we are human, though with modifications for extended lifespans and adaptations to space travel. The Secretary General took the device. If what you say is true, how much time do we have? The main harvester fleet will arrive in approximately 6 months, Theron replied. Their scout ships will reach Earth orbit in 3 days. The hall erupted again. Fear permeated the air. 3 days, gasped Okafor. Yes, which is why we must move quickly. Theron's voice cut through the panic. We will intercept the scouts before they can report back. But we must prepare for the main invasion. We're prepared to share technology and knowledge that will help Earth defend itself. Marius added, We've been selective in what we've revealed today. There are certain truths about your history, about humanity's origins, that would be too disruptive to share all at once. We ask for your patience as we gradually introduce the full scope of what we know. The assembly debated for hours. Some nations demanded immediate access to Guardian technology. Others expressed skepticism about the visitors' true intentions. A few suggested these beings might be lying about everything. As night fell over New York, a decision was reached. The United Nations would form a joint task force with the Guardians, beginning preparations for the coming conflict. Later that evening, in a private meeting with key world leaders, Theron revealed images of the enemy they faced. The harvesters appeared as towering, mantis-like beings with multiple limbs and compound eyes. Their technology was part biological, part mechanical, ships that seemed to grow and evolve. They do not negotiate, Theron explained. They do not show mercy. They see other species as either resources to be harvested or threats to be eliminated. In our timeline, they killed billions before we even understood what we were fighting. President Adams of the United States studied the images. And you're certain they're coming here now? Yes. In our original timeline, they arrived without warning. This time, we've detected them early. Theron's expression was grim. The advantage of surprise will be ours, not theirs. As the leaders dispersed, Dr. Eliza Weiss approached Lyra. The Guardian scientist had requested a meeting with Earth's leading experts. There's something you're not telling us, Eliza said quietly. Something about why they're coming here specifically. Lyra's silver eyes met Eliza's. You're perceptive, Dr. Weiss. Yes, there are reasons why Earth is their target. Reasons connected to your planet's true history. But those revelations must come gradually. Too much truth at once can be more destructive than any invasion. Across the globe, as news of the upcoming conflict spread, humanity reacted with a mixture of fear and determination. Religious institutions struggled to incorporate the revelations into their teachings. Military forces began mobilizing. Scientists pored over the limited technological information the Guardians had shared. And inside the moon, billions of ships began powering up their engines, preparing for a war that would determine the fate of humanity's past, present, and future. The skies above Earth changed overnight. Massive Guardian vessels moved into defensive positions, their sleek forms catching sunlight as they passed overhead. Billions of smaller craft remained in the moon's hollow interior, but thousands deployed daily, establishing a protective net around the planet. 3 days after the Guardians' revelation, their prediction proved true. 7 harvester scout ships entered Earth's orbit, looking like massive dark insects with glowing red veins running through their hulls. They approached cautiously, maintaining formation. The Guardian response was swift. 100 ships surrounded each scout before they could broadcast their findings. The brief battle that followed lasted only minutes, each scout destroyed with surgical precision. Not a single piece of debris reached Earth's atmosphere. First blood to us, Theron announced in the emergency UN Council meeting. But they will know their scouts failed to return. The main fleet will come prepared for resistance. The 6 months that followed transformed human civilization more rapidly than any period in history. Dr. Eliza Weiss found herself heading the newly formed Technology Integration Division, working directly with Lyra to adapt Guardian technology for Earth's defense. Her small observatory in New Mexico became a sprawling complex virtually overnight, with scientists from around the world living and working in hastily constructed facilities. These energy shields are designed to protect your population centers, Lyra explained, pointing to glowing blue diagrams hovering above their conference table. We've simplified the interface so your engineers can operate them, but they still require enormous power.